go to our website so they can order our products and services. That's our perimeter. Now, how do we prevent things from happening inside there? So if I have 443 opened up, how do I protect it? Well, I throw a firewall there, and commonly known as a layer 7 firewall or a stateful firewall, or in our case is a web application firewall. It sits on the very edge, and what it does, it scans the information. Just like it is when I go to the airport. What's the first thing that happens? I have to go to TSA, have my ticket, have my ID, I can get in. Everybody can go there if they have a ticket. They're allowed to walk into that environment. Now what happens? If you've traveled lately in an airport, what happens after you get past the security person? You throw all your bags on a scanner, they get scanned, and you yourself walk through some kind of scanner. It's exactly what a firewall does, folks. That's all it does. It's just at the very edge. Yeah, you can come in port 80 and 443, but now we're going to verify who you are. Then we also have a special protection, distributed denial of service protection. And every customer gets this in Azure, and there's a basic feature that everybody gets. It's free. And we also have a standard feature which does a little more proactive remediation if things like happen. And all this is, a distributed denial of service attack, is a hacker just floods your internet with so much traffic. Guess what? Real traffic can't come in. Azure's been protecting it since really the beginning of Azure, preventing from these styles of attacks. We have the networking layer. Now, we're past the perimeter. What about inside our networks? If you think about your world that you live in today, in your data centers, how many of you actually were very secure on the inside? Or you just hoped the firewall would keep all the bad people at bay? Well, a lot of the really good social engineer hackers in the world today, they know how to walk around your firewall. In other words, they leveraged a really friendly receptionist and were able to walk by your perimeter layer. Now they just have to put a port scanner inside any one of your open jacks, and they're in the network layer. But can they do things? Well, inside of Azure, we use a concept, and I'm telling you what, folks, it is a huge concept. They're called NSGs, or Network Security Groups. They're a filterer. They're not a firewall. They don't inspect traffic. They're and some people would call it a stateless firewall, but it's just a filterer. It filters inbound and outbound traffic. It's very easy to set up. And basically, a network security group is, who are you and where are you trying to go? Either I'm going to let you go there or I'm going to deny you. And that's it. But that's on the inside of the network, and it fine-grained filterer. And I'm going to show this to you as we take a look at some of these technologies, but now it makes it easier to secure the inside of our networks, all right? And that's the networking layer we have. When we look at Azure Firewall, we already talked about it's inbound and traffic firewall, what ports can come in. And now we can come in and look at firewall, we can look at what happens inside those packets. And the application, the Azure Application Gateway has this built in for your applications behind it. So there's a couple ways inside of Azure to do this. Now folks, this is the Azure Firewall. I want you to have a firewall on the perimeter of your environment. I don't really care which one you use. Use something. We have a lot of common vendors, Palo Alto, F5, just to name a few inside of our marketplace, folks. Use them. Have something on the perimeter of your network scanning that traffic. We have some great built-in services, but if you're familiar with some, just use one, all right? Then we have distributed denial of service. Everybody gets this basic service for free. I will tell you, for most customers, the basic free service is going to be perfect for you. If you add the standard service, it's transactional based and it can be kind of costly, but it adds some mitigation. It helps protect all your other resources. And really, when we talk about cost and security breach, what's the cost if you get breached, right? What happens inside of your environments and how do you want to prevent that? Or what's the cost if your customers can't get to your website because it, for some reason, got by the basic service? I will tell you most customers are very, very happy with the basic service, but you might want to consider the standard service. Now, what about the inside? I've gotten past the perimeter. I'm valid traffic. I'm allowed port 83. Now, how do I move around inside of Azure? Firewall, DDoS, perimeter, external. Network security groups inside of Azure. So when you start working with your traffic, how do we dive in and use all of this? We have some default rules we'll take a look at in a few minutes. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk about that because the great thing about network security groups is that we don't have to necessarily use all kinds of fancy things. We can use application security groups as a part of our NSG story. And I'm going to show you the network security groups and where ASGs come in. But the great thing about application security groups, they allow us to group computers by names. In other words, I don't have to know their IP address. I don't have to know anything else about them. I just have to put them in a name, a group name that allows me to organize it and control flow of traffic. And when we see the network security group here in just a minute, you're going to see how application security groups can actually govern all of that. So let's take a look. Let me show you what network security groups can do and how we can set it up. So I'm going to hop in fairly quickly because I want to show you the power behind these things. So I'm going to hop into my environment. I'm going to go to my network security groups. I'm going to hop into my AZ Fun network security group. And I'm just going to go right to the inbound rules, and I'm going to go right to add. Now I hop in here very quickly because this is where the power of the network security group lies. It's a fairly straightforward filter, and notice the first two options here. First one says source, any, where are you coming from and what port are you coming from? Every network traffic has to have an origin port, but look at the any, it says any source, but look at the choices. I can choose an IP address range, so you have to know how to use site or addressing to control what subnets are going to be coming inside of that. I also have service tag. What's a service tag? Services. And notice the default one is internet. So this says if I have traffic that's come from outside of Azure, internet-based traffic in here, I can lump everybody into internet traffic. I don't have to worry about IP address ranges, I don't have to worry about any of that. But notice the service tags we have here because it's really, really big. We have virtual networks. This is virtual networks inside of Azure. So we have a rule specifically for our VNets inside of Azure. But as you scroll through this list, look at all the Azure services that are there, and they're all designed to help you filter traffic inside that list. And notice when I get down into storage is broken down into regions. So if I only know a certain region can come into this area, guess what? Lock it down. Why say any when they come inside of it? Lock down to those very specific resources that we have inside of Azure. It helps you control traffic because guess what? If I choose Storage Central India, which happened to be the one I landed on, guess what? If I don't come from Storage Central India, I don't get in. It's blocked, right? I have to be on that list. So let me go back. We're going to have some fun with this. So I'm going to say any. I'm going to leave the port range at wide open, although generally speaking, if you know where the port's coming from that's supposed to get in here, lock it down again. Destination. Where are you trying to go? Who are you and where are you trying to go? The destination, any, IP address range. Are you trying to go to a specific network? Because a network security group can sit in front of multiple virtual networks. Or I can do application security group. So I can have that group of computers. And they work like this. I maybe have all of my web servers grouped in a thing called web server. I'd say internet traffic can talk to web servers. And then under web servers, I might have my database servers, and that means web servers can talk to database servers. In other words, a hacker, if they're going to try to come in, they have to go through the web servers before they can get to the database servers. Everything else is just blocked. So for us, just to have fun, I'm going to say any. And what port do you want to go to? I'm going to say 3389 is my port. I can use any protocol here. I'm going to use TCP. And this one I'm going to deny. And I just want you to make note of the priority rule, which is currently 310 that we have inside of it. And the port, I'm just going to say RDP2. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Add. And I want you to take a look at what we have here once this rule is created so we can see it. It'll come up here in just a moment. And then we'll talk about how this works inside of Azure. So let me just refresh this so I see it. Now, Garrett, I'm going to ask you a question. Notice that I have two rules here. I have one over 3389, TCP any, allows, and one that denies. And best guess here, what do you think? Are we going to let traffic in, yes or no?
Yeah, I'm going to say we're definitely going to let traffic in because of priority of the rule.
Yeah, exactly right. Perfect. High five. Good answer. All right. Folks, understand this. Most of the times when you think about security, you think deny always wins. Not in the case of network security. What did I tell you it was? It was a simple filterer. And here's how it works. When a packet comes across the network security group, it says, who are you? Where are you trying to go? And it looks at the rule. And the minute it gets an answer to that question, it takes its action. So in this case, look at the priority rule. It's 300. The allow is before the deny. Now, if I were to simply do this experiment with it and flip these rules, and say instead of 310, I'm just going to make it just one little itty-bitty number ahead of it, make it 299 and save it. Now I flip the rules. Now denies before allow, and you're exactly right. That priority number matters inside of here. Now that priority is not going to let that traffic in because it hits the deny rule first. And so when you start working with network security groups, it's really important that you understand how these are set up so you can start controlling your network traffic inside. So how do you become hard and crunchy on the inside of your network? My friends, network security group is the answer. And this is just a quick example. You can have rules, priorities from rule priority 100 to priority 4096. So how many rules can you have? A whole bunch of rules inside of here to really govern traffic, to be very, very specific about how this traffic flows inside the environments. Now, one thing I want to show you, and it's a little bit extra, I don't know if it's on the exam, but quite frankly, this is about skilling and teaching you. When you start working with network security groups, my friends, oh crud, how do I get around? How do I work with this? We actually have an amazing tool inside of Azure called the Network Watcher. So let me show you this tool. And if I go into Network Watcher, it's a troubleshooting diagnostic tool. Now, it does a couple really cool things that I want to show you. One is effective security rules. And I'm not going to show you that because in my demo, I don't really have a lot. I would just repeat what you've already seen. But when you start working with a lot of network security groups and you have a lot of flow of traffic between virtual networks, well, what is the rule? I have these rules here, I don't know what's going on. You can run the effective security rules and it's going to tell you what's going to happen. Now, let me show you 3 of my favorite things in this tool, and I just want to give you a quick overview. My first one is topology. Now, Garrett, I don't know about you. I've been asked to do network topology diagrams before. Isn't that a fun way to spend your day, isn't it?
It's the most fun.
Okay, so what I'm going to say, the sarcasm comes
Yeah,
out, right?
sorry.
The cool thing about this is that when you have these things, we can do it in Azure very quickly. Now, I'm not going to tell anybody what I'm about ready to show you. And folks, I'm not going to tell any of your bosses either, but watch what happens. So I'm going to say my Windows group, I'm just going to select my AZ Fun group. And notice what happens here in a second. It automatically diagrams my virtual networks that are in that group. And by the way, all those icons are live links. So now I've just diagrammed. You can download it, throw your PowerPoint. I'll tell your bosses, it took you all day to do that. Okay, so it's there, but it's easy to do. So we have that built into Azure. Learn how to use topology, see what's out there. Now we have 2 other tools. When we're on-prem and when we've been troubleshooting, what's the most common tool? We use ping. Hey, can I get there? I just want to send a simple packet and get a response. Inside of Azure, we have its equivalent. It's called IP Flow Verify. So when you start working with network security groups, you have to start to understand how you troubleshoot it. So IP Flow Verify is a way I can essentially do it a ping at the Azure level. So I don't have to worry about diving into the virtual machines, what's the password. Hey, can I get from point A to point B when I have VMs involved? And the other one we have is called Nextop. This is the equivalent of traceroute that we have inside of Azure as well. So folks, I don't know if this is on AZ900. I do know it's on every other exam after that. But from a standpoint, when you start working with network security groups, you have to know how to troubleshoot them. Network Watcher is one of those tools. And it does a whole lot else. I just show you some of my favorite things that are going to really help you get through that. So understand we have some great tools to secure a network, and we have some great tools to help you troubleshoot that flow. Can I get from point A to B? Did I effective rule? Did it deny me somewhere and I have to go look at it? And when you look at those network security groups, and this is where Garrett figured it out, when I looked at the very last is any deny.